Wood Fields. Odd name for a dwelling. But here I was, pacing the deck of my cedar boathouse, built just before the Great War. The dusky marshlands, their snake-like creeks flushed by a Nordic sea, struck me as a sort of no-man's land. There was even a dilapidated lookout bunker a half-mile or so down the coastal path. I was checking my mobile phone for a text alert. The only network hotspot was right at the end of the jetty, which stood reassuringly proud of the recent high tide. But it was not good news.
Poor mother. Whole ground floor flooded. Could be away for weeks. Sorry, Bertie. Call me, Luke.
Ironic. Amid all the talk of climate change, we go and buy a boathouse on Norfolk's north coastal front line, where the sea defences are eroding, yet it's Luke's mum, way up in Geordie country, who gets flooded out. Back in June, the moment I had stepped over the threshold of Wood Fields, not Wood Fields, as I'd heard it over the phone with the estate agent, I had fallen for its timber-framed integrity, its sequestered location, perched on a dense bank of pine woods like some exotic aviary. But I hadn't bargained for Luke disappearing up north for weeks on end. Naturally, he was doing the right thing to support his mum in a crisis, and he was lucky to have the chance. My own bohemian mother had resisted any such help, and spent her life running away from a stream of upheavals of her own making. But our boathouse was going to feel awfully lonely without him. And I did worry this might reignite the OCD, the checking and rechecking that nobody had slipped into my home, that had plagued me off and on since a violent episode in childhood. Surely, with my 43rd birthday fast approaching, I was old enough to ignore such wretched thoughts. At least I still had my chilled-out Whippet Boo for company. He was hardly a guard dog, though. Had he been human, he would have been a cross between David Niven and the Dalai Lama. This unexpected separation from Luke gave me a chance to get the place together for his return, personalise it with some trademark twists from my former career. For 6 years we'd run a flourishing interior design consultancy from our base in bohemian Muswell Hill. Mother would have loved it had she lived, catering to clients with money to spare. Now, where had Luke left the spare set of boathouse keys? I had to locate them before I could sit down to dinner. What if he had dropped them outside somewhere? I could be murdered in my sleep. Calma, Roberto. An inner voice, what some people might call a guardian angel, was back in my head. I hadn't heard it in years, though I'd never forgotten its first manifestation. After a visit to the National Gallery, my hippie mother getting her homesick fix of the Italian Renaissance, I'd been allowed, with characteristic laissez-faire, to climb the banisters on my way to bed. As my child self plummeted headlong down the staircase, this dulcet voice had spoken. Calma, Roberto. And I'd found myself brought into land gently on the floor below. And later, on holiday, 10-year-old klutzy me had tumbled off a diving board and cracked my head in the deep end, unobserved by Mother or her new partner, my self-styled Uncle Roy. It was the little voice, I imagined it emanating from a puto, a plump angel from the Da Vinci exhibition, that saved me from panic and certain drowning. Calma, Roberto. In my head again. So many years since this reassurance had offered itself. Why now? The understairs coat cupboard was a logical place to look for a door key. But could mulling over the cherub's re-emergence, in a space without electric light, revive memories of the childhood trauma that had triggered my OCD affliction? No. Years of therapy had surely put pay to such nonsense in my adult life. I started to rummage through Luke's pockets. A quilted puffer jacket, a reefer coat, a tweed blazer with gun patches, but without success until, as panic loomed, my foot scuffed something across the floor, and I heard the jangle of keys. Aha, so they dropped out. I scrambled around on the floorboards, reaching into the recess under the bottom step of the staircase. As I dragged the knobbly keys towards me, I felt a wad of newspaper wrapped around something solid.